Um, just want to inform the public about an officer-involved incident. Tonight this afternoon at about 4 p.m., patrol officers were conducting a follow-up investigation on an incident that happened previously and would ultimately result in an officer-involved shooting. So I'm going to let Chief Alan Parker give you the details of the incident. Chief.
Thank you, Sheriff. So good evening. Like the Sheriff said about a week ago, what he's talking about, there were some officers that conducted a traffic stop on an individual that they're pretty familiar with up here. The officer got up to the vehicle, to the driver's window, made contact with the driver, and knew who the driver was, but the driver took off anyway. So they were following up on fleeing and attempting to elude. That officer in particular went on bereavement leave and has been gone. Got back to work today, and under their sergeant's direction, they reviewed the body-worn camera to verify that's who it was in fact. They verified it was, and I'll give you his information in a minute. But so they came up to the area where they know he resides in this area. They came up to see if they could locate him. Two of the sergeants were up here, and they actually made contact. They saw him. One of the sergeants followed him down to about the 14,000 block of Gossett Street. The suspect at that point backed his vehicle kind of up next to a trailer and up to a fence, and had a little gap behind it, but he backed in. The sergeant pulled up to make contact. When he made contact, he got out of the car and said, "Hey, show me your hands," multiple times. Put your hands out the window multiple times. The suspect then proceeded to reverse the vehicle against the commands. He reversed his vehicle a few feet back. The sergeant was giving him more commands: stop, stop, don't do it, don't do it. The suspect then puts it in drive and accelerates toward the sergeant. The sergeant engaged him, shot multiple times with his pistol, and the suspect continued on past him and rolled to a stop. They continued to give commands for him to get out of the car. He finally gets out. He goes down on his hands and knees. He's crawling, bleeding, and they're trying to get him to go to the ground fully so they can render aid. And all he wanted to do, he kept saying, "I'm dying." They're like, "Listen, go to the ground. We'll give you some, we need to help you. Go to the ground." And then he started asking some of the citizens in the area for a cigarette. So finally, he decided to comply. He laid over on his right side. They were able to get him rescued. Rescue got him to a local hospital where, at last I heard, he is in stable condition at this time. So when you're ready, I'll give you the information on the officer and the suspect. So the suspect, his name is Michael Youmans, and I'll spell last name. It's Youmans. Date of birth 7/9/95, so he's 29 years old. He has a 13-page criminal history. Like I said, they're very familiar with him. Everything from theft, multiple arrests and contacts for drugs and paraphernalia, resisting without violence, resisting with violence, fleeing and eluding back in 2022 that he was guilty of, trespassing a conveyance, trespassing a constructor, burglary. Like I said, 13 pages. The sergeant involved is a task force sergeant. His name is Ben McEwen. Last name is spelled McEwan. He's been with the department for 11 years. This is his first officer-involved shooting. His ID number is 68599. This is our first officer-involved shooting of this year. At this point, state attorney's on scene doing their investigation, and at this time we can take any questions you may have.
So to clarify, backed up to prepare to accelerate? Is that what it was?
I don't know what his intentions were, but he backed up a few feet, I'll say, and then at that point you can see when the video comes out, he turns the wheel. You can see the tires turning, which is where the sergeant starts saying, "Don't do it, don't do it," and then he puts it in drive, comes at him as he's yelling stop. The sergeant actually takes a couple steps back as he can as he's engaging him. So I don't know what his intentions were backing up, but he definitely did a couple feet.
Was the sergeant the only one there at the time?
He was.
And was there anyone else in the vehicle?
Nope, nobody else in the vehicle.
Did the officers sustain any injuries at all?
No, just shaken up. Obviously very, very scary situation, so just shaken up.
Is there a body cam video of this? Or?
Yes.
Can you also talk a little bit back? I know you said a week ago officers were conducting a traffic stop on this same individual.
It was, yep.
Can you kind of go over that just a little bit?
So I don't know what the reason was. They did a traffic stop on him for whatever the reason was, whatever the infraction was.
Okay.
They made contact with him at the driver's window, got all the way up to talk to him. They were right, closer than I am to you, and then he accelerated away. They didn't chase him because it wasn't anything that we would pursue for. So that's why they were going to seek a warrant on it, and they ended up doing PC because the officer's been off. So that's what the charge was, fleeing and eluding.
That was about a week ago, and then today, that's when the sergeant saw the same.
Correct, because the officer that was involved in last week was on bereavement leave.
Okay.
Came back today. They wanted to review his camera to verify that it is exactly who it was, and it was. So they were just following up today.
And the suspect tonight, did he appear to have any drugs on him? Was he?
I don't have any of that information. So.
Yeah, they're still gonna. I mean, this is a crime scene. Part of it took place inside the car, so they have to process all that. We don't just go in and start grabbing stuff and looking around. So, haven't been able to determine that yet.
Do we have an idea on how many shots were fired
It's approximately 5, but
and where?
it hit the windshield where he was coming out of. Hit the windshield and then right on the front A-pillar. I think he was struck a couple times in the face and maybe the shoulder, but I don't know any more than that.
Are his injuries critical?
He's stable right now. He's talking at the hospital
He literally asked for a cigarette. I mean,
multiple times.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Chief.
All right.
Sheriff.
Thank
Thanks.
y'all.